Right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, when I left New York, I'd got that sense of community.
Okay.
I had started to organize. I had joined the Jamaica Progressive League, Carl
Okay.
Rodney, Fair
Okay.
Rodney, and they made
See the
myself,
see the Campbell.
Sadie Campbell, yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They made myself and the Navy recruiter, a guy named Burchell McCormack.
Mm-hmm.
They made us joint leaders for Queens.
Okay.
And we put on different functions in Queens where we had them come down and attend the function and talk to people and stuff. So we're good
Uh-huh.
recruiters for them too,
Okay.
right? So here comes the 3 Mile Island accident in
Ah, the
Philly,
meltdown.
meltdown in Philly,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this recruiter down there, he calls me and tell me, look, it is so bad, we got infected, and my wife's breastbone is growing, pushing out to come outside of her skin.
Mm.
I said, no, say that again. Tell me what happened. Him said them they got infected with the 3 Mile Island breakout. And him says it's going all over the Northeast.
Yeah, radiation.
Radiation, and a lot of people didn't know it. The government
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't warn anybody. So I said, okay, my turn to enlist was coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 Mile Island caused, and if you remember, 2 years in a row, the highest 100-degree temperatures,
Yep.
and straight over 30 days and 10 days and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it came to the winter, the 3-foot snow banks in the winter,
Lock,
everything had changed. It changed.
lockdown New York in 1980. Close it down for weekends, days.
Yes. And if you remember, we went through that the power but they claimed
The
that
blackout, man. The blackout.
the blackout, yes. Yeah.
Tore up Brooklyn from corner to corner.
Yeah. And so when all of this was going on, I'm sitting there one night watching Monday Night Football with Howard Cosell and watch Earl Campbell run this touchdown back,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That he
Say,
was with Dallas at that time.
no, Houston Oilers.
Houston Island, yeah,
Houston
Houston.
Oilers. And when I saw that, I said, damn. And he says, 80 degrees here in Houston, Texas. I said, and I'm sitting here and it's 20 degrees here in New York. What the hell am I doing here? This is like about October, November. And I said, okay, by then, with my record, I got offers all over the place
Mm.
in the Northeast to come
Uh-huh.
down to Baltimore, Washington.
Okay.
So I said, let me call down to Houston and ask them if they can use my talents down there because I specialize
If they can use a yard, yeah.
a yardie. There you go. And I checked it out and I found out that Panamanians, Trinidadians, and Jamaicans lived at communities in Southwest Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, no problem. So when I called down there, I spoke to the sergeant major and he says, look, man, I want you down here yesterday. I said, okay, sergeant major, let me look into it. He said, you don't have to worry about it. You already say you want to come. You're going to be here. Let me tell you, so 2 weeks later, I'm still on the job, taking my time. The man called me and said, you packed already? You ready to move? I said, sergeant major, I haven't relisted yet. So what the hell you waiting on? I already told the headquarters you're coming. Everybody knows you're coming. I said, sorry, give me a chance to just
you're,
get things straight.
you're the reluctant bridegroom.
There you go. You know, I'm on standby. He done cleared the way, paved the way, and tell me, say, what the hell's wrong with me? Why have I not moved yet? You know?
Yeah.
But going to Houston was one of the best assignments I had.
Okay.
You know, I drove down. I'd left the family back in New York with arrangements with my brother to go help them clear housing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause it was naval housing out on East Meadow in Long Island.
Uh-huh.
You
Uh-huh.
know, they had the Navy commissary out there,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a base exchange for the Navy
Uh-huh.
as well. Yeah, when the ships come in Philly, a harbor or New York harbor, that's where these guys are housed out there at East Meadow, right?
Okay.
And the government housing out there, it's old, but it's well maintained,
Uh,
right? They had that asbestos issues, but they were cleaning that up by the
mm,
time I leave there. I get down to Houston and I go from New York, I get to Louisiana, and I end up in the middle of a damn tornado. I,
tornado.
I was telling you, I end up underneath a tractor trailer, and I didn't even know I was underneath the tractor trailer. It's when all the water and the wind and everything died down, and I see the red light come on. The thing red light about on top of my windshield, and I realized the car went up under the truck.
Was that your first tornado?
That's my first tornado. And I say, you know what? I need to get the hell out of Louisiana
So you,
because
you
the
go
water
you go you go
river,
from snowstorm to tornado.
the tornado water on either side of my car, I had a Granada, Ford Granada, and on either side of the car, the water was up to my window. That means the
Hold on,
water was 2, 3 feet high
hold on. Was
and
that covered by
swampland.
insurance? Was that covered by insurance?
No, but let me tell you, I hadn't even changed over my New York insurance or anything, right? But but that was my first experience with the Southwest and how vicious the rainstorms could be. You know, I'm used to the white water and hard rain and wind from Jamaica, but
Mhm.
this was just a totally different thing because when your car front lift up and hit the ground, right, and you're going all over the place and you can't control it, and you and I remember seeing the lights ahead of me. But I don't remember I remember stopping, instincts, but to
and,
be up
and, the,
on that tractor trailer, no.
and the fact is, apart from being born in the middle of hurricane, this was your first tornado.
There you go. So I graduated, right? So pretty much, I would say, going down to Texas, it was knowing how to set up recruiting programs, do marketing, all of these things I'd learned in New York,
Uh-huh.
right? And the guys them down there were lost. So
Mhm.
I set up the high school program, the college program, everything. And again, I rose to being the top guy down there.
Okay.
Got my promotions on time and everything, and became a what they call station commander.
Okay.
Where I had nurse recruiting in the office. I had reserve National Guard recruiting, and I had 5 recruiters I was responsible for. So
Uh-huh.
I had what they call a super multi-man station.
Uh-huh.
I'd got my gold badge and I had 3 sapphire stars on it,
Mhm.
and now they're giving me these new guys to train,
Uh-huh.
right? So that forced me into a different mindset
Mhm.
to where now I had a responsibility. And then they asked me to help out to train the other new guys who were doing my reserve recruiter as well as the nurse recruiter.
So now you're management,
Yeah,
making
you know,
more money now.
more money. Like maybe the pay raise was maybe about $30 more a month.
Okay.
You know, I at the time I was a staff sergeant,
Uh-huh.
promotable. and then I finally put on sergeant first class, senior,
Oh,
move up to the senior, the top 3 for the senior enlisted. But you know, I really got out there and met a group of Jamaicans again, and this is my proclivity towards community building. Guys were bankers, they were insurance brokers, they were into all kinds of stuff. Another guy was running the Gulf Oil research unit down there. Another one was with Brown and Root, Halliburton. They later bought them out, and we came together and we formed the Jamaican Association of Greater Houston. It's called Jamaica.
Hold on. So let me get this straight now. You go to England where nobody no want to do nothing.
Yeah.
You go to Panama where they're doing everything.
Right. Yeah.
You go to New York where you start doing your own thing.
Right.
And now you end up in Houston where you find everybody down there doing something.
Yep. Everybody was doing something, but they weren't together.
Okay.
So when this guy, Bob Clark, he called, we spoke, he called a meeting of all these guys that he knew, because the insurance guys had a list of all the names. Right? They had come across all these Jamaicans down there. And we called a meeting and we decided to form the association. Got it incorporated, the whole 9 yards.
And that is the same one that is in place in Houston now?
In Houston now, yes.
Okay, so you're one of the founding fathers of that
One of the
organization.
founding fathers, yeah. You see,
okay.
And it seemed like just a calling that everywhere I'd been. It didn't matter that I was with the U.S. government.
Right.
It mattered that there were Jamaicans there, just like New York, who were new and didn't understand the system. And somebody like me could articulate that to them.
Okay.
Hey, you come up, you have your high school diploma. No, that's the first thing we got to take care of. GED. Right? I'm not recruiting you for the military. I'm just trying to get you started. Right. And so I would give that kind of counseling. Get the person a GED and say, no, do you want to go on to college? All right? You cannot apply because you have a GED. And even back then I suggested start with the community college first. Because community colleges would teach just like they teach back in the high school. They had time for you, they assisted you, and you could, you had a pace that you could understand, and you had that instructor that was a lot more helpful.
And they had an interest in having a high percentage of graduates in the community college.
Yeah, yes, very much so. Yeah. So getting them through community college, and then they write to me and say, hey, Sarge, how you doing? You know, I got my diploma. Where you got it in? Oh, I did electricity, or I did mechanic, or whatever. And this is what I told them. I said, when you have those skill sets, and you go and you get a job with one of the big automobile dealers, and they send you for further training at Ford or GM or wherever, or you had electricity and you could get on with the union.
Yes.
And the union could get you the training you need, and then you'd start off till you become journeyman.
And union salary now.
Yeah, different.
Yeah, different.
Much different.
No more $89 a month.
Look, I kicked myself in the butt because I didn't follow my own advice. You know, or else I should have gone back to the community college, train myself, and go do that. But I just wanted the quickest way to get benefits and to get the family.
Well, in the essence of it is that your journey was you had a different calling.
Yes.
There was a different platform waiting for you,
Yep.
and so that is that is the race that you run. You did not run this 60-yard sprint or the 100-yard sprint. You're running you're doing a marathon. You're
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
you did a marathon.
And I'm still running that marathon to this day
Yes, yes.
because the things that I was learning in the military, I knew exactly how I could go into a country and influence
Hmm.
from the bottom up,
Yes.
right? I knew how these young white gentlemen with the best of education and the misguided ways came into Jamaica and totally misled
Mm.
Edward Siaga and his band of merry men and women to undermine the Manley government.
Mm.
I knew that from Panama
Uh-huh.
because I was hearing and I was seeing, right? And the fact that that could happen in Jamaica, it could happen in Guyana, it could happen in Trinidad,
Mhm.
right? And the reaction of the population. When you murder almost 2 dozen young men from the PNP youth organization, and you do it for whom? For foreign government. And you call yourself a Jamaican, you commit treason.
Mm.
But nobody saw it as treason. They saw it simply as you getting the better of the other government. Because
Yeah.
eventually you forced him out and you got in there,
Yeah.
right? So all of these things, Trevor, that I saw, I I couldn't put my hands on the proof. I couldn't see who did what or who steered what. So when I came back from Europe in 1990 and came back to Virginia, I had no idea what the good Lord had in store for me. I did another 6 years in the military. I made sure all my medical and stuff was right before I got out. And then I got recruited in October 1996
Uh-huh.
to, let's say, we have this agency, they need access control experts, in other words, security people that could screen folks and make sure the right people are coming into the building and make sure that the different areas of the building, people were going all over in different areas and they were stealing information and passing it outside. They got about, I'd say around 150 of us, and they put us through some 4 hours of testing. At the end of 4 hours of testing, only 4 of us were left.
Oh boy. Hmm.
And I happened to be one of them.
Down to the bone, eh?
Down
Down
to
to
the
the bone.
bone. So I said, how can I be this damn lucky? I had to go through a physical and all this other stuff. And when I got on the job and I knew where I was,
Mhm.
right? I knew I was going to be up to my eyeballs in stuff that only people dream
Class.
about.
We call that classified.
Classified, yes. I went from the lighter side to the dark side,
Yes.
right? So I was now getting answers to all these questions I had from at least 2.5 decades.
That the questions that were haunting you, you're getting the answers now.
Haunted me. I was getting the answers now,
Yeah.
right? The man trusted me. He gave me this assignment after assignment after assignment. I took it, accepted it, and boldly went forward with it. Right? And so when I looked and I saw that corruption is the #1 avoidance to good governance and to people's survival, I said, my God, this is so simple. Resolve this and everybody's happy. I look at those countries, Singapore, and I look at the others that have only oil. And I say, everybody's getting a paycheck just based on the oil and gas that they have. Everybody can go to school and learn. Everybody can get medical and stay healthy. What is wrong with Jamaica?
Right.
What is wrong with Guyana? What is wrong with Trinidad? I started asking those questions. And the only answer I kept coming up with is just how corrupted these people are. And the people I'm talking...
And we talk about regional corruption now.
Regional corruption, yes. Well, if I were to look at Latin America and the Caribbean as one region, yes. But when I came and I was looking at the North American region, there was a high... Yeah, it was the same thing. Matter of fact,
duplication.
Yeah, I always call it, the Grandmaster plied the trade down throughout the Americas, the Caribbean.
So what we're saying is that they exported corruption.
Yes, absolutely. Right? Jamaicans didn't know how to traffic drugs. They didn't make the connections. It's by them doing it themselves under the guidance of the Grandmaster that they learned the trade. They didn't know how to traffic humans, but they did it under the guidance of the Grandmasters, and they learned the trade.
And
they didn't know how to traffic
and the stick was
weapons.
The stick was always money.
Yes, yes. Right? You had the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But when you travel the path of the rainbow, you're learning things that you never knew before. Right? When the man was in charge, you didn't have a lot of these killings. When they claimed that 800 people died in 1979, 800 plus, I still suspect that was an undercount. But that was offensive to a lot of people.
And it drew the attention of the world now.
It drew the attention of the world. 890 people. 1979. Trevor, we watch now up to 1,600 people getting killed.
Yes.
And we don't bat an eye.
We don't bat an eye.
And the rest of the world look on and all of this shake their head and say, what's wrong with these damn Jamaicans? Right? Now, I welcome, there's a lot of Jamaicans out there in the FBI, in CIA, in DEA, in the ATF, Postal Security, them all over the place, and in the military, with DIA and you know, we have a female, I think she's 2-star general now in the Marine Corps, but she's at Cybercom.
Mm.
We had a 3-star general who ran DIA and went on to be deputy commander at Cybercom. Trump wouldn't promote him, so he put this guy in charge of both Cybercom and NSA just to block him.
Okay.
Right? Eventually, he left. Unfortunately, he passed away last year.
Mm.
Vincent Stewart, Casey Oldboy.
Okay.
Right? So we are in the system and we're making a contribution.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing a lot of things that have educated us to where we can educate our islands and keep them out of trouble, keep them on the right path. If they let us, if they trust us. But, you know, when you're in bed with, whether it's the cartel you're in bed with, or you're in bed with the organized criminals of the US, Canada, or the UK, whoever you're in bed with, you can't afford to let us in.
Right.
Because then we're going to understand what's going on and we're going to ask you to apply countermeasures that you don't want to apply.
Okay.
Things are going your way and you don't want to change. You don't want to change anything. And this is the thing Jamaican people, Guyanese people, Trinidadian people, they all got to understand that. When the crooks are having things as crooked as can be, that they understand, they're the only ones that understand it is them. They're having a field day. Why should they change? See, I live in the state of Virginia. And the thing I like about Virginia, you can only be governor one time. And you move your behind out, somebody else come in.
Term limit.
Term limits.
And that can help to control corruption.
It does. It does. Right? Because people come in, they institute programs, and guess what? The legislature only meets starting January. By April, they're done. They have their regular jobs.
Yes.
They come in and they have a slate that's put together for them to vote and for them to manage their affairs as state.
Mm-hmm.
They vote on it, they get things passed, and they go on about their business.
Okay.
Right? Look at Jamaica. They're all complaining, they're all fighting. And all of a sudden, you're giving yourself 200+% raise when the whole system is corrupted. What are you giving yourself a pay raise for? You didn't accomplish anything. And then you have the opposition in agreement with the rest of government because they both form the government.
Yes. Yes.
And they pretty much still don't have a standard that people understand and people can see or touch or appreciate the fact that they have improved, the fact that changes are being made. We have the same 2 dams, no improvement. We're having severe water issues. They talk about seawater conversion for the last, I would say, 9 years. They haven't done anything. The bauxite companies were there, dig these pits, fill up the pool with poisonous chemicals, and they were supposed to restore the land to its original use so we could have farming again. It didn't happen. So the monies that were being made was used for something else or went into somebody's pocket. The court put a stop on the mining. What happened? they go back to the court and say, you need to lift this because we need to make some money. There's no profit being shown by Ministry of Finance, but you lift the injunction against mining. So now you stirring up these pools and people can't breathe. Kids can't go to school because they can't breathe. The schools are next to these pools, right? I have a friend, attorney from Florida down in Jamaica, go buy land in Manchester, too close to one of the pools. And one night he sleep his windows open. And one night him wake up, him can't breathe. Cannot breathe. And him finally realized what we've been talking about on Reason with Rattigan and Lonesome shows. Come say, everybody used to watch you and it didn't register. But him said that night that I couldn't breathe, I remember everything you guys say. I said, really? Him said it came home to me. So now I realize I can't sit on the sidelines no longer. And I introduced him to Dr. John Lennon. I said, that's the man who's involved in that fight. You're an attorney. You're not licensed in Jamaica, but you can read those regulations just as well as or better than some Jamaican attorneys. And you guys can figure out how to fight. Because that's what's needed.
Well, okay, Jerb, let me say we're going to call all to this segment of our discussion. I would like, therefore, that when we resume, we will look at now what we are able to do. And when I say able to do, I mean through the eyes of the Institute of Caribbean Studies. So having identified the problems and the issues at the back end of our conversation, next time we come back to our diaspora and to the world who will be watching us, we will talk about the futuristic look that the Institute of Caribbean Studies brings to the table, having analyzed all the various parties at the table.
Yep.
And having the data of the history, the data that is the history of what took place and where we are now. The next time we meet with our listeners, we will talk about the crime commission as developed through the Institute of Caribbean Studies, that is to point us a way forward in addressing this problem. So let me say thank you so much for your clear introduction of yourself and of the issues that have been haunting you all these years. You're listening to Futurist Herb Nelson Jr., and you're on the SosoFat Media Network. Thank you so much, Herb.
Thank you, Trevor, and thanks to your listeners for listening.
Okay.